I wanted to do it here on YouTube as well because sometimes I have a challenge getting Instagram Live to save on my phone and then upload to YouTube. So I figured I would do the IG Live while YouTube Live is going. So there's no problem in documenting it. It will be here for future reference for whoever would love to have access to what I'm going to be speaking on today. I'm going to get IG Live going right now. And the camera is right here. So I'll be looking here. Sorry about that. But it's the best I can do right now. I'm so DIY. I'm so DIY on a budget. So here we go. Here we go. I am a clear channel for the divine to flow through. I am divine. Welcome. Take a moment to allow IG to put the word out that we are opening up the circle. Welcome. Lighting some Palo Santo. I got a Palo Santo burning, offering it to you, offering it to me, setting the space for sacred, clear circle of connection for all of us in our virtual ritual. I love the smell of this too. It's absolutely exquisite. So great to see you. Well, I wish I could see you, but I see you here. So thank you for being here as well. I'm gonna spray some of this rose water. Spray it over y'all. Spray it over me. Oh, yes. So welcome. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. Yesterday, I was going to come live and answer some questions, but yesterday I was in a really special mood, and that required me to be more inward and to process what was coming up for me. So definitely today is the day for me to drop in and do the connection, answer some questions. I just wanted to, hi, Mama Green Pea, welcome. First, I just wanted to speak really quickly on how this last Friday, Kirti Srivastava and I held our first Dilse movement medicine and spirit school workshop here in San Diego, and that is the vision of Kirti, and her vision is classical Odissi dance, yoga, weaving in the Yoruba Orisha tradition, and looking at how we love to do this, and we've been doing this for such a long time together, how we can take traditional movement from a traditional context and use it as the springboard for our soul expression. And so we look at the way sacred dance, what shows up in the realm of sacred dance in different vocabularies. We look at comparing and contrasting them, and then we weave them together. We honor the context they came from, and we acknowledge the way that we already embody the elements which we are honoring through our embodied practice of music, singing, dance. So the beautiful thing is, in these traditions, the stories and the deities that we're honoring, we acknowledge that we already have all of that within us. So it's really beautiful to drop into an embodied practice because we are cultivating and activating those divine aspects that we innately are. So this past week, we honored Ganesh and Elegua, who are both the remover of obstacles. They help open the communication with supreme forces of nature in ceremony. So we always go to them first in ceremony, and we always close. Well, in the Yoruba tradition, we always close with Elegua too. So we explored movements for Ganesh, explored movements for Legua, then we wove them together, and then we created a cipher space where people could come through and allow their spirit to speak with that those vocabularies. And before all of that, we did a drop-in where we talked about what do you desire to call in, and what would the obstacles be? And we had a conversation about what that actually means and what that looks like for all of us who are participating. So anyways, I just wanted to share that this is really exciting stuff that we are doing, and there's going to be 7 more of these workshops in the series. So we would love for you guys to come. I post about it on my Instagram, so does Kirti. So if you need the info, check there. Okay, so some of you have been writing to me with topics for Instagram Live. Excuse me. And so I want to kind of drop in and answer some questions. If anybody who's watching right now has questions, feel free to put it in the comments. The first question that I want to answer is, the other day I was writing about manifestation, and I wrote in my stories that everything, it's interesting because everything I've been working on manifesting in my life for the past many years since I started learning about the law of attraction. What's interesting, because on face value, a lot of what I've been trying to manifest or working on manifesting, kind of the opposite has come through. And so I've been really marinating on what exactly is manifestation, what I think of it, and how my thoughts on it are morphing and changing. And it's interesting too, because this morning I was on a Facebook Live with my coach and a couple other people that are in the coaching academy that I participate in. And the topic came up. My coach, Scott Thomas, brought up sort of a seeming polarity between manifestation and surrendering to God, or God's will, or the divine essence, spirit, source, Holy Spirit, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, God, you, me. Let me get comfortable. So, it's interesting because when I think about this topic, I acknowledge that I have been really specifically working on calling in things into my material world, reality, that I see and believe and feel on the inside. And in the law of attraction, you talk about it, you write about it, you put it in statements where it, as if it already exists. So not, I'm going to be rich. You know, if money is your thing, you say, I am making da 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 amount of money. That's kind of how it works, right? And I've been doing that, and really specifically for years. And, you know, in the past year, I've watched my whole reality get ripped to shreds, quite literally, and almost died several times. And so it's interesting because it makes me kind of ponder on manifestation. And I think it's much more nuanced than I have learned. And I think it's much more multifaceted. And I'm sort of learning experientially what exactly manifestation is. And when I think about it for myself, If I come up with really specific terms and visions of what I want to manifest in my life, and I focus my energy there, I'm calling in that vibration, right? Intending to create a vibrational match outside of me in my material reality to what I see on the inside. That would bring me more comfort, joy, whatever the reason is that I want to manifest it in my life. So what I've noticed is when I'm really specific about certain things coming to be and they don't, and perhaps like the contrary happens, what I'm noticing and what the sense that I'm getting is that there is a divine, deeper, animating presence within me. It's like the wisest, deepest me. It's my God self that's inhabiting this human body. And the golden drake me, the earth me, the persona me that has the ego and the programming from society and all of that. That's a lot of that when we're doing manifesting. It's that persona of our earth self wanting to see certain things in our reality. But what I'm finding is sometimes those things we're wanting to see in our reality are not necessarily what the divine essence of who we are came here to do and be. So, for example, if I'm wanting to call in abundance consciousness, abundance, whether it's material or with certain frequencies of energy or people or situations or whatever it is, if my soul came here to first fully embody poverty consciousness, my soul will do that until I've really embodied that principle and that experience. This is for me. This is what my experience has been. For other people, it might be different. This is the message that I'm getting. In order for me to fully embody the abundance consciousness, I had to fully go into poverty consciousness. And now that I'm shifting that paradigm, I'm able to see the blessing of actually being fully in poverty consciousness. Because I had to come here and fully embody that to know that. My deepest, wisest self had to come here to know that. I'm just giving you one example, right? Another example could be if I want to call in divine partnership with a beloved. And I'm calling it in and I'm calling it in and I'm saying I am whatever my statements are and I'm visioning it and I'm feeling it and it's not happening on the outer. What I have seen is in my own life, again, it's like I had to go through other experiences to know other things, to embody the other things, to more fully prepare me and have a deeper understanding of divine partnership. And my understanding of what that even is shifting. So instead of projecting that out like divine partnership means that I'm in a relationship with another person, what spirit has shown me by taking partnerships away or even friendships or work relationships away is that beyond what my human mind could have comprehended as divine partnership, right? A beloved, an intimate partner that is committed to me and devoted, and having that all go away, or a lot of that go away, was spirit saying, divine partnership. You want to know divine partnership? First and foremost, it's with you. First and foremost, it's with the one. That is divine partnership. And so it's interesting because the human me had these concepts of what things needed to look, feel, and be like. But the deepest, wisest part of me was like, okay, yes, but let's take it even deeper and let's go into the real truth on that. So in that example, I really had to be shown that divine partnership truly, truly begins. If I want to see it out here, the more I get clear on this divine partnership with myself and with Source, the more I'm dropping into all truth of who I truly am, the abundance consciousness, the divine partnership, the whatever it is, whatever I'm calling it out there, really what I got was like, once I see that I already am all of that, and I'm embodying the truth of that, that's when I'm starting to see it on the outside in ways that my older programmed mind wouldn't have even been able to identify. Say I was so stuck in lack consciousness that I wouldn't even be able to see that, or if I was so wrapped up in need to have a partner, that I couldn't realize I was already partnering with me and with Source. I wouldn't even be able to see what was truly manifesting. And so I'm loving this quandary that I'm in with manifestation and surrendering to the Supreme Source of all, and how it truly is a collaborative thing. And I really believe that what I'm believing through experiential circumstance, through embodying it, is it's interesting. It's a paradox. It's not an either or. It's manifesting comes out of surrendering to Supreme Source. So a full letting go is a full ability to see that you're already full and you're already able to receive in fullness. Welcome to those of you who are jumping in. I said earlier that I'm answering questions, and I got questions about my thoughts on manifesting because I was writing about them earlier in my stories. One sec. And so I've just been really contemplating it a lot, and it's not cut and dry, and it's very nuanced, it's very layered. And for me, my understanding of how it all works is deepening. And the more I can drop into the more I can drop into unconditional love for myself and humbleness and curiosity and deep listening, the more my understanding of all of it expands. And I haven't figured anything out. I'm totally a work in progress like everyone else. More Palo Santo for everybody who's jumping in and joining. So that's just a little piece on that. And I want to go more deeply into this as my understanding unfolds and expands. Another question that I got was in terms of someone was asking me about goddesses and my relationship to goddesses. And would I speak on them to help them understand, to give them context when I'm talking about them on Instagram. And so what I realize now at this vantage point is that I've always had a relationship to goddess, right? In that as a young person, I had the luxury and the blessing to be able to be out in nature in certain times in my life and connect with the land, which is, you know, divine feminine and the earth. And although it was never named for me in that way, I got to have the experience without it being named. And I was raised Christian, and so I'm grateful that I got to have, that I was taught and shown to have a relationship with Source, although that way didn't necessarily ever resonate with me as a young person. And I had a lot of questions, and when I would ask them, a lot of times people couldn't answer them. And so I was always kind of like, like, doesn't fully resonate. Another piece to the puzzle in the goddess worship and embodiment was I was always a dancer my whole life. And I didn't know it as a kid, but dance was like my therapy, my safe space, my link to sanity, my self-expression. And so it saved my life several times as a young person, young adult. And then once I got into college and I started studying dance as a dance major, I, at the same time, came into um, the realm of the Orisha. And the Orisha are deities or forces of nature in the Yoruba pantheon that originate in Nigeria. So I came into this spiritual practice when I was fully immersed in studying dance. And when I made the connection of, holy shit, this is worship of forces of nature, aspects of being, sorry, um, through singing, drumming, and dance, and ceremony, and community, and basically like sacred ceremony of community, and that the deities are forces of nature that we actually all embody ourselves. When I came into this practice, which was like over 20 years ago, I was just like, oh my God, like everything started to make sense for me. And I was like discovering sacred dance where, it's taken to the fullest degree of sacred in the form of worship, right? And so I just dove in and I immersed myself completely in this realm of Orisha. And I've continued since. And I've also come across other sacred dance forms that I've woven in to my practice. So it's very integrative. But so the question was about the goddesses, right? And so I really strongly identify with the goddesses of the Yoruba pantheon. Oshun, Yemaya, Oya, Owa. There's a lot of goddesses, but I also identify with other goddesses from other pantheons. Like if you think about Kali or Lakshmi, the Hindu deities, and then just around the world. And you realize that the divine feminine has so many faces, and she shows herself in so many different ways around the world. And you start to see all of these parallels. And, there's only so many ways that we can configure this energy. But it's also interesting because goddess energy, just like the divine feminine, has infinite expression. It can show up in so many different ways. And a really common theme is Maiden Mother Crone, right? Or Maiden Mother Maga Crone. And if you look at the Yoruba pantheon, there you see Maiden Mother Crone. Oshun is the maiden, Yemaya is the mother, Oya is the crone. And so I've been studying that particular world for the past couple decades, and worshiping. And as I worship these forces of nature, I activate and cultivate their aspects that live within me. So if I'm dancing or honoring Oshun, I'm honoring the maiden aspect, which is Oshun is the river, and she represents femininity, abundance, the creative spark of life. She's responsible for the creation process in the womb, or for anything for that matter, the spark of creativity. She's laughter, she's pleasure, she's sensuality. Her colors are yellow. Her dances are, she's rubs honey all over her body. She dances with a fan. She dances with the mirror, and she gazes at herself in the mirror. So it's like this embodiment of deep introspection, deep self-reflection, and amazement by her beauty. And a lot of people will confuse that with vanity. They'll say Oshun is vain. And, I've heard it explained that this is not her being vain by admiring herself in the mirror. And this is something all of us can really expound with, is that she is, as she gazes at herself in the mirror, she's dropping into deep self-reflection and a deep awe of her essence and her beauty, which is like, hello, we all want to embody that instead of the shadow of like, oh, if you think that you're beautiful, you think you're all that, like, who do you think you are? You think you're better than this or that, or no, that's not what it is, right? So, or if we're talking about Yemaya, who is my mother, and she's the one who's crowned on my head. I did the initiation to be Iya Yemaya 15 years ago, right after my daughter was born. She was only a couple months old, and I did that initiation, and had been a long time coming to that. I always thought that I would do that when I was very old, like at the end of, towards the end of my life, when I was a much older woman, when my kids were grown and I could fully focus on that. But it didn't turn out that way. It turned out where this situation and this opportunity presented itself, where I was actually asked to be initiated. So it was like, I guess this is spirit speaking, and I could do a whole nother live on that. But it definitely caught me by surprise, and I said, yes, I did it, and it changed my life big time. So Yemaya in the Afro-Cuban tradition is, well, in the Yoruba tradition, she's the mother of fishes, right, in Nigeria. And as the enslaved peoples came through the transatlantic slave trade, what she was sort of named and known as shifted, because as we all know, things shift and evolve for peoples according to what their life circumstances are. And so if enslaved peoples are crossing the transatlantic, the mother of the fishes becomes the mother of the sea. She was the one who, carried them as they went on this journey. So Yemaya is the mother aspect. She's the primordial mother. She is that energy of the sea that has 1,000 faces. So she could be gentle and tranquil and nurturing like a mother, and she can be ferocious and smack you into your place depending on her mood. There's so much to say about her. And she dances when she dances. It's traditionally done with the skirt, and the skirt becomes the waves in the sea. So she is the one who carries and ushers people through the life, right? So Foshun's responsible for the spark of creativity. Yemaya is the birther, the nurturer, the mother, the unconditional loving presence that is there. And then Oya, her facial expressions are of ferocity. She screams out when she dances, which is contrasted to Oshun. When Oshun dances, she's laughing, and she's just, most of the time, she's laughing and really blissed out. Yemaya is more serious, depending on the movement of her waves, kind of dictates how the dancer is expressing her energy in the body, but it's much more serious. And then Oya is just like ferociousness. And so Oya is sort of in charge of that aspect of leaving the body and entering the realm of the ancestors. So when we do these practices, when we're honoring these forces of nature, or when we're embodying them in dance, we are acknowledging that we have all of these aspects within us. We all have a sweet maiden who is playful and sensual and reflective of her beauty and moves gently and flowingly through the world. We have a serious mother presence. We have nurturing mother presence. We have that steadfastness and that commitment and consistency of a mother. And then with the Oya energy, we can conjure the ferocity of the divine feminine, that aspect of divine feminine, right? So the question was about goddesses. I mean, we could do hours and hours and hours and hours of this. I just kind of wanted to briefly speak on it because I mentioned them a lot in Instagram. And so I just want to say that in terms of the dance, I've been studying it for 20 years now with my teacher. He's a master teacher. He lives here in San Diego. His name is Juan Carlos Blanco. I have so much respect for him. He is known, he's just known to be very, very elevated within the world of Afro-Cuban folklore, music, dance. And he's a true master. He's a true embodiment of the culture, the tradition. He's a traditionalist. He's very, very serious about passing along the tradition as it was passed to him. And I really admire that in him. And so I always pay homage to him because he has taught me so much, so much. And I got to spend many years performing in his company Omoache here in San Diego with my family and my beloved friends. He taught my kids drumming and dancing. My kids have been, I was going to his classes all the way through both pregnancies before, but during, and danced my kids right out, brought my kids to class for years, brought my kids to rehearsals. He was always loving, embracing, welcoming to my family. My son would often drum in his class, and my daughter would dance in his class. And so he's just been a wellspring of generosity, and just want to give him a major shout out in acknowledging him as my main teacher for that tradition in terms of the music dance. So I would love to keep talking on that. And actually, Kirti and I are going to make a podcast very soon, and we are going to talk at length about all of these things. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about sharing that. Another question that somebody sent me was about daily rituals and routines. And just a disclaimer, I am a friggin' Pisces through and through. And so I acknowledge that about myself. And I acknowledge that I weave in and out of what feels most alive for me. And I work really lovingly on honoring whatever is alive in me each day and in each moment of the day. But there are certain specific things that I do to create consistency from day to day. But I learned that I also have a perfectionist aspect of self that has all these things that I think I have to do every day to be really disciplined and to be really great. And then I set myself up when I don't meet that. And then I berate myself. I beat myself up. I think I'm a failure. That's a really kind of old paradigm way of my being, where now I'm much more in the flow and honoring what is every day, and giving myself permission to really drop in and honor myself daily. And that shifts according to what's going on in my life. And I've learned to be way more easygoing on myself in relation to that. But I can say for sure that when I wake up every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I was gifted another day. Because I truly am living on borrowed time at this point in my life. Like I said a little bit earlier, there were several times last year where I could have died. And I didn't know on certain days if I was going to make it through the day or not. I mean, death was walking by my side. And now that every day I wake up, I'm like, fuck, I have a whole new day. I have another day here. And, I used to really take that for granted, that life would be long and I'd go on for decades and I'd probably pass away as this really old woman in my sleep or in meditation. Like I have this sort of far off thought about what my dropping my body would be like, but I never thought much about it because I'm in my early 40s and I wasn't focused on it at all until death came knocking and was like, hey, here I am. So yeah, I kind of want to take your life. It got me thinking about dropping the body in a whole new way. And so now when I wake up, I'm like, wow, I woke up, I opened my eyes, I'm alive. That is something to celebrate. So I give thanks every day that I wake up and I have my eyes open and a body and I'm breathing. And so right next to my bed, I have my life declaration written out beautifully, very big, placed on the wall right next to where I sleep. So I take slow time in the morning. I make my tea. I get back in bed because I give myself permission to move very slowly in the morning. And so I sip my tea and then I read my life declaration out loud every day. And it's basically my I am statements that I am manifesting in the world, and I've carefully written them out, very mindfully wrote them out so that I am speaking out the way that I am navigating life and moving through the world, so that I'm affirming daily to myself and putting the vibration out from my body, emitting the frequency as a what's that called? Like almost like a radio frequency. I'm emitting it out. My intention for being in this body every day. And it's so interesting how my manifestation has really shifted in the past year, where I really dropped into why I'm still in a body. And so I affirm that every day about why I'm here, what I came here to do, and being really clear for being the vessel of my divine essence and letting that be the most, the strongest aspect of my being that's radiating out. So that's part of my daily practice, is the affirming of the life declaration. And then I drop into a prayer and I just do prayers for myself, loved ones that are the multiverse. Um, I have practices that I do at my own altar where I cleanse myself off. I connect in with my ancestors and my spirit guides, and I connect in with my Orisha that I have sitting on the altar. That's part of my practice. Every day, I'm so devoted to getting out into nature. Luckily, I live very close to the ocean, so most days I get to the ocean, whether that's walking, just sitting, laying, dipping in the water, whatever it might look like or be. I definitely, though, go outside every day to connect into nature, and I feel like that is just a quick, easy recalibration of my energy, and especially the ocean, especially her being my mother, like I was talking about earlier in this. Getting there, I mean, I could go in the shittiest mood ever and just feel like, the worst ever and get there. And by the time I leave, I'm like, so I can just go, cry, scream, talk, be quiet, lay there, laugh, play in the water, whatever it is. But it's really important for me to be barefoot and connected in there. That's important to me. A couple other daily practices are, I have a big jug, a 64-ounce jug that I fill with water. I bless it every day and I drink that. I try to drink that every day. And I focus on eating radiant foods. And so for me, that's plant-based. It's cruelty-free. And I really try to focus on getting the most raw living foods into my body. I've softened up on being militant about that. I realize that when I'm craving comfort foods, that some part of me is being nourished and fed by that. So I give myself permission where I'm not so like 100% hardcore as I sometimes am in my life. And that serves its own purpose, and it's fine when I do that. And I'm learning that it's fine when I don't. And so I'm really learning how to take it easy on me and realizing that everything I do is simply me trying to get one or a few of my precious needs met. So I really remove the judgment or the chastising or the berating when I do specific things. And I really try to drop into, if I'm doing something that I would label as like not the healthiest or whatever, I drop into what part of me is being nourished by this right now. If I'm craving a food that we wouldn't normally call healthy, I'm dropping into what part of me is longing for this right now? What part of me is being fed, comforted, nourished? And so I give myself permission to do that. And I don't make it a habit, right? And I really realize that staying the course sustainably is being compassionate about all the choices that I'm making. So there's that. Um, More on the daily practices, I am in a tremendous amount of chronic pain in my body, which often feels debilitating, makes me not want to move my body at all. Um, it kind of feels like I have like head to toe arthritis from the chemo. And being a dancer and a yogi and a mover, it fucking sucks. And it's totally depressing if I don't, do something about that. So I try to move in ways that feel nourishing to my body. And I realize that I have this dancing spirit. My spirit's like, let's go, let's dance, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And my body's like, no, that's not a great idea. I hurt. Stop. So I try to find the happy medium where I am allowing my spirit that so wants and needs to dance that space, and also being kind and compassionate to my body, if that makes sense to you. I feel like I've just been going, 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 going. Would love to hear how this is landing with you. If you have questions coming up, I know I was just answering questions, but does anybody have any questions, thoughts, feedback? How's it landing? Does it resonate? Let me see. Emil said, as run. I'm not quite sure what that means. A runner, that makes total sense. Dancer. I think what you're saying is you kind of get it that maybe for you with running, if you're not running, that you can go into depression or feeling out of balance, out of whack. I realize for me, dance truly is a strong medicine that helps me process, helps me move energy, helps me express everything that is deeper than words. So talking is great, and I love the tool and the medicine of talking. Dance is a different kind of a medicine where whatever is going on, when I move, I'm moving it up, through, and out. I'm also creating a channel for my connection to my spirit guides, the Orisha. It's multifaceted. It's therapy, it's art, I need it. And what I was telling my friend today, who's another dancer, we were texting, and she was talking about how an injury has her not dancing and how depressing that is. And I was like, oh my God, I get it. And I've been in that space too many times in my life. And I was telling her that when I was in the hospital with my blood clot and the doctors told me I wasn't allowed to frickin' move, and I didn't know if I was going to live or die, I was shown, I was shown when I was in the hospital with the blood clot that I got an inner directive. It was very clear because I was in the limbo of life and death. And I got the download. It was close your eyes, be quiet, imagine yourself dancing. So interesting how manifestation is woven in here again. And it was an inner directive. This was not coming from me, or it was coming from the deepest me that animates this body. And so it's like, okay. And so I put on really specific music and I started to attempt with my mind to visualize myself dancing. Because imagine I was laying in a hospital bed. My breast had just been removed a couple of weeks prior. I was bald from chemo, bloated from chemo, and I had a freaking catheter inserted behind my knee all the way up into my abdomen. And I was told not to move. So I was stuck in a hospital bed hoping they would be able to remove the blood clot before the blood clot removed me. So the message was, see yourself dancing. And so in my mind, I was like trying to see this me dancing, and I kept not being able to. It was like, I can't see myself dancing. And once I stopped trying to force the vision, I saw me dancing. And what I was shown was this beautiful, I mean, all I could compare it to is like a psychedelic vision of almost like symmetrical, flowing, iridescent color, ribbon, angel body. I know words to explain it, but probably people who've had psychedelic experiences know what I'm talking about. And it was moving 3-dimensionally, and it was glorious. It was I don't even know how to find the word to explain it. It evoked in me to watch this. And I just got it. I was like, that's me dancing. That's me dancing. And so I got that message that whether or not you have a body, you are dancing. And you have a body right now. So if you are breathing, you are dancing. And so for my friend who just wrote that she's a runner, yes, if we're not able to move and do our movement medicine in the way that we know it, we have to remember that as long as we are in this body, if we are breathing, we are doing the thing at some capacity, right? Because the body is doing its dance, it's doing its movement, even if it's just the lungs opening and closing and the blood coursing through rhythmically. Running is a rhythmic meditation. Running is a kind of dance. It's a moving meditation. It's a rhythm that we create. There's all these polyrhythms going on with the feet, the lungs, the blood, everything, right? It's very meditative. And so if we're in a space where the body's not functioning, can we drop into my breath is my dance, the blood moving in my body is my dance, the cells being born and dying is my dance. And then beyond that, even if I don't have a body, I am eternally dancing. I am eternal, and that's what I was shown. So when that day came that I could actually, they gave me permission, they took the catheter out, they moved the clot. The day that I got up from the bed, that whole morning I had noticed the sun just beaming in the hospital window, and the sun was calling me and saying, come over here, come over here. And after the nurses had done trial walks with me and saw that I could get on my feet, and it's kind of like I was shuffling like a very, very old person, like hunched over and shuffling, like I could barely move my body. My body had undergone horrific trauma. And once they said, okay, you're allowed to walk on your own, that was the moment where, well, it took some time, but I sat myself up and I shuffled over to the window, and I just stood there in the most humble awe of simply being in the body. And my body did a spontaneous sun salutation and spontaneous sacred dance. And I was really, really got the shift and the download on the true meaning of sun salutation, the true meaning of dance, the true meaning of worship and sacred dance and celebration, and the beauty of just simply having a body. So that, to come back to the question, was about daily practices and daily rituals. I really carry that into gratitude, especially with PTSD and trauma. It's very easy to go into, holy shit, my life's a shitstorm, everything sucks, everything's coming undone, everything's horrible. It's easy for trauma to loop that in our brains. we then become hyper vigilant, looking for all the horrible things that are threatening our well-being. So I'm learning to have compassion for that part of me, and I'm learning to balance that with dropping into gratitude of, right now I have a body. Right now I'm breathing. Right now I'm connecting with you. There's this phone where you are on it as well, and we're here together in a sacred space. We're contemplating life and the true meaning of life together. We're breathing together. We're expanding together. We're sharing in an energy together. I'm in an apartment that, by the grace of God working through my community, the rent is paid. I have food in my belly. I have clothes on my body. I have people that I can call and say, I love you. I have the ability to move my body. I have the ability to speak. I have eyes that see. I have senses where I can feel pain and pleasure. These are miracles. And so that's one of my practices, is to weave gratitude into every day and to practice self-care in every moment, and to be real and honest and honorable to me in all moments as an act of self-love. So I think some more questions came in as I was flowing. Let's see. Does your vision, let's see. Hula Hoop Girl said, does your vision hold to continue to teach dance in the community? 100%. And it's shifting and changing as my body shifts and changes. I was teaching belly dance recently for a while, and I was in a lot of pain, so I had to pause. I just taught at a kids camp some belly dance. That was amazing. I'm now teaching with my sister Kirti in her Dilse Movement, Medicine, and Spirit School, where she's weaving in the Hindu deities. I'm weaving in the Yoruba Orisha movement with, like I was saying earlier, respect to my master teacher. I definitely teach from the space of being a student. I have 20 years of practice, and I still feel like a total beginner. And I feel strongly called to hold spaces where we dance, sacred dance, that isn't necessarily a specific vocabulary, where it's cultivating the organic, original, authentic voice of the soul moving the body. So dance rituals, yay, I saw some hearts come up for that. I really want to explore sensuality in a sacred context through movement, with the idea of really cultivating, working with, for example, Oshun, and really making it a sacred ceremonial ritual where we are exploring the energy of specific Orisha, for example, where we're giving ourselves permission to really feel into her and the way our body moves that energy through in its own authentic way. So not having to replicate a specific vocabulary, but what is your soul's vocabulary in your body? And so many people I talk to, sorry, this dress is like malfunctioning. So many people that I talk to about movement tell me, I love to take dance classes where I get the steps and I don't like freestyling at all. And then some people say, I love freestyling, but the second I step into a dance class, I'm like 2 left feet and my brain goes haywire, and then I freak out, and the whole perfectionist thing comes up. So I want to hold workshops, I guess that's the name, but ritual space where we're dropping in and exploring, here's a movement, say from a traditional context. Let's really explore that. And then how does that manifest through your body with your soul's voice, your body expression? Or just unwinding and unraveling trauma in a sacred ritual space together. with authentic flowing movement that doesn't have to look a specific way, and it's not performative. It doesn't, or we're not focused on looking like the teacher or looking in the mirror and like it has to look a certain way. There's a time and a space for that. And there's also a time and a space for us to drop into the natural body expression. And I'm really kind of keyed in on sensuality right now because pleasure is really up for me. Sensuality is really up. Working with the Oshun energy is really up for me. And especially people in female bodies, it's often not safe. I just made a post about this recently about Oshun and us embodying that energy and how it's so often not safe. When we read the environment, we read it's not safe for us to be in our full expression of sensuality. And most of us don't even know what that looks or feels like because it's so edited down, because we're taught if you're in your full sensuality expression, you're a slut, you're a whore, you're easy, you're cheap, you just want to fuck, you have no self-esteem, or you think you're all that, you think you're better than us, who's this bitch think she is? Or a lot of us don't allow ourselves to feel into sensuality because it doesn't feel safe due to other traumas. We might not allow ourselves to feel sensuality and pleasure because in a world where we see so many people suffering, we don't give ourselves permission to feel pleasure because we feel guilty that we might get to feel pleasure while so many don't. There's so many reasons why we don't go into full pleasure. And it can be terrifying. I mean, even just talking in terms of sexuality, how many of us truly fully express ourselves, our sensuality, through our sexuality? I mean, really, truly, that's like a lifetime of work for most people. And most people don't even know where to start. And most people don't even know what their true sensual expression is. So I know the question was am I going to keep teaching dance? And that was a really long-winded answer. Yes, I'm going to keep teaching dance. It's a huge part of my soul work on the planet, is being a facilitator and a space holder for what we call dance or movement. And for another huge piece of the dance for me is owning the body temple, blessing the body temple, loving the body temple through the forms of unconditional self-love, unconditional beauty. I'm really exploring that right now. And actually, I have this vision of a photography project that I want to get going. I have so many visions, and I'm like, how do I do it all? But I have a vision of exploring that one-on-one with people through photography, in dropping in with the body temple. And so holler if you want to work with me. Shoot me a DM because I have ideas that I want to get going and I need people to do it with. Let's see. I'm going to read some comments. Such courage to bring your dance practice into one of the most challenging moments of your life. Yes, dance saved my life again. Dance has saved my life so many times. And I'm humbled. The spirit of dance is the spirit of God, spirit of source. And I can't say enough about it. It's telling me I only have like a minute left. I want to read all these comments. I'll go back and watch this. I notice a lot that it doesn't always show me all the comments, and then I'll see these videos later, and then I'm like, oh my God, they didn't show me that? So before I go, with 1 minute left, I'm going to drop into a moment of just being a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I want to thank you for being here today. Bless you in this moment. And may I reflect back to you that all aspects of you are perfect, sacred, holy. Even the parts of you that you don't want to show anyone in the world, even the parts of you that you don't even want to admit to yourself exist. I want to reflect back to you that even those parts of you are sacred and necessary parts of you. And so may I be a divine mirror where you see yourself clearly, and may we together drop into a space of unconditional love, unconditional loving presence, knowing that we are love itself. We are the embodiment. We are the divine source in an animal body. I love you. Thank you.